This video is only for people who are serious about getting into high-paying degree apprenticeships, okay? So over the next couple of months, the degree apprenticeship application process is going to be starting October, November, December, January, right? So a lot of people right now are focused on the initial application stage, making sure they're getting their CVs ready, they're getting their cover letters ready. If you're not even doing that right now, then I'd recommend you click the video, which I'll put in the top right now. But if you're doing that, I want to point your attention to something else which you could be doing, which is why this is only for the serious candidates who are prepared to go the full way. They know they're going to be going to the assessment centre, getting offers from some of these companies. I want to talk about something from the assessment centre. So your assessment centre is going to have a couple of stages. It can have things like interview, group exercise, presentation, task, case study, networking event. It can be any of those, and it's usually the last thing you do before you end up getting your degree apprenticeship offer. I want to talk about something specific with the interview stage. Okay, so there's three main types of interview questions which you're going to get during a degree apprenticeship interview. And I want to focus on one which is going to be really relevant to you right now, even in September. So, STAR questions. This is one of the types of interview questions. It's actually the second type they do. And these are questions which start with the phrase, tell me about a time when. Okay, the reason they're called STAR questions is because this is the best way to break down this question and answer it so that you basically show yourself off to the recruiter as best possible as a good candidate. Okay, STAR. Situation, task, action, result. So it'll be, tell me about a time when you did X, Y, Z. You'll explain the situation, you'll explain the task, you'll explain what you did, the action, and then you'll explain what happened, otherwise known as the result. Okay, these are some common questions, common STAR questions they can ask you in this interview. Tell me about a time when you worked as a team. Tell me about a time when you worked really hard on something. Tell me about a time when you came up with a creative solution. Tell me about a time when you led a project. Okay, these are all very common. In fact, this first one, tell me about a time when you worked as a team, is a super common one. I think in almost every single degree apprenticeship interview, they end up asking this question. Tell me about a time when you worked as a team. Okay, so STAR questions. This is how you'd answer it. Okay, this is sort of a model answer for a STAR question, such as tell me about a time when you were a leader. So you'd start off with the situation. So the situation was, I was in the cup final with my school football team, and I was the captain, and we were losing 3-0 at halftime. Okay, the task was I needed to do a team talk at halftime to try and inspire, motivate our team, change things, change any tactics to make sure that we could come back and win the game and win the cup final. So the actions I took was, when we started the team talk, everyone else was talking at once. So what I did was I spoke up and just said, well, can we just go one at a time all of a sudden so we can include everyone and just hear everyone's viewpoints? Some of the key members of the team who were quite vocal started saying their opinion on what they thought was going on. And I noticed that there were a couple of the substitutes who were sort of just standing there in the circle, being quite quiet, not saying anything. So what I did was I asked them for their opinion and asked what did they think was going on. And they actually provided a really good viewpoint. They had noticed while they were substitutes on the side that every time we were going forward, there was like a space on the right wing which their defenders weren't marking. So it'd be really good if we pushed through there to attack there. So what happened was, after I allowed them to give their viewpoint, I actually suggested to our team, okay, let's do that one. Let's push down the right side. And we ended up implementing that tactic in the second half, and we ended up scoring 4 times down the right-hand side, and we won 4-3. Right, like I've just made up that situation on the spot, but that's the sort of answer you're going to do. Okay, go through the situation, task, action, result, and through that answer I'm showing how I'm a good leader, right? I showed how I listened to people, included their viewpoints, I was decisive on changing the tactics, all that sort of thing. So starting to get this impression, okay, this guy's a good leader, seems like he works as a team, seems like he can manage people, he's quite confident, he can make decisions, all this sort of thing, and it presents you as a good candidate. So that's how that question works, basically. They're trying to assess how good are you as a leader in the past, how good would you be a leader when you're working in this degree apprenticeship for our company. So what's the problem? Why am I bringing this up now in September? Well, last year I had a program, helped a bunch of people get into companies like Amazon, JLR, Rolls-Royce, and one of the things I was doing with my students was mock interviews. So I had a script of questions we'd go through, I'd assess their responses, tell them where they could improve and all this sort of thing. And one of the key things I noticed were people were consistently struggling with these STAR questions. Right, so I'd ask them a question like, tell me about a time when you worked as a team. And they couldn't think of an example off the top of their head of when they worked as a team. Or tell me about a time when you led a project. They couldn't think of an example. And I had to do quite a lot of digging and helping them, and eventually we got there in the end. But it was quite difficult for them to think about a time when they'd worked as a team, or when they'd come up with a creative solution, or they'd led a project, or they'd seen something unsafe, right? Because it's something they hadn't thought about in advance. Okay, which is why I'm making this video for the people who know they're going to be in interviews over the next couple of months. Because this is something you really want to think about in advance. Okay, the best candidates are going to proactively plan where they can find these examples, because it means when you're presented with some of these, in this video today, you're going to be like, oh, I actually don't know what I could use for that. So when I show you, tell me about a time when you worked as a team, you're like, oh, I actually can't think about when you worked as a team. Then over the next couple of months, you're going to seek out opportunities to go and work as a team. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, for example, think about the question, tell me about a time when you had to show confidence. This was something that I knew that I needed to get an example of. So I made sure that during the months building up to my degree apprenticeship applications, I made sure I went and did some presentations in front of like 20 people, right? Delivering like a presentation, like a talk, because then I could use that as an example in one of my interviews in case the question came up, tell me about a time when you had to be confident about something. Okay, or another one, tell me about a time when you worked as a team. I was signing up for work experience. There was a specific work experience where we had to work in a team and design a railway station. I specifically signed up to that, and it meant I now had an example for tell me about a time when you worked as a team. Okay, so the best candidates are going to proactively have a look at some of these questions and be like, notice if there's a gap in your experience, and see if you can plug it. See if you can go on a work experience, do some volunteering. Maybe you can think about this when you're doing your schoolwork, your assignments, your exams. Do some online courses. Maybe join a sports team, that sort of thing. And it basically means you can plug these gaps a couple of months in advance. So by the time you get to interviews, you then have examples for these star questions, okay? Because it can be quite difficult if you can't think of any examples. You're like a couple of days before your interview. What am I going to say if they ask this question? You have to try and come up with something and think about something you've done in the past. If you've been like proactively thinking about this for the past couple of months, you're going to be much better off. Because that's why I brought this video for the people who are really serious about degree apprenticeships. It's not like a flashy topic or anything like top 10 tips for your CV, and it's kind of annoying having to do this months in advance. I get it, but for the people who want to do really well in the interviews, and you want to be getting into these high-paying competitive degree apprenticeships, this is like a really high-level tip to be following. Okay, so what I've done is I've put in the description a full list of these sort of questions, Notion document. You can just go click on it and it'll be here. And you can also fill this out as well if you want, just to help you with your thinking. So you can, with all these, write down your examples, situation, task, action, result. And that's just going to help you with answering these as well and just make you better at interviews. Okay, so there we go. That is the end of the video. This is what I'd recommend you do. Go to that Notion document, see where there's any gaps, see where there's any examples you haven't done, and see where you can fill in those gaps or anything like work experience, volunteering, online courses, sports teams, anything like that. Okay, just one quick final plug. I do have a coaching program to help people get into high-paying degree apprenticeships. If you want to register your interest, you can go click the link in the description. Thanks for watching today's video. If you want to watch another video on how to optimize your LinkedIn profile, you can click that video on the left there, or if you want to watch another video from the channel, you can click there on the right. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out.